Hare Krishna, everyone. We're on the late morning program. I forgot this.
Put your hands together for the late morning program with your host, Namras.
Hello, everyone. So we are the late morning program with Namras. I'm here with Caitanyananda for episode
22.
22. Yes, episode 22. And this is your second appearance on the show. Thank you for coming on again.
Thank you, neighbor.
Put the kids to sleep and come over to Nam's for another podcast.
Yeah.
Great. So how you been?
Good.
So since we spoke last, it was a year ago.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. So what have you been up to since then?
Let's see. We moved.
Okay.
So now we're basically 20 minutes from you now. So,
Super.
play dates and all. So,
Yeah.
And then I changed jobs.
You're an architect.
I'm an architect, yeah.
Right.
I changed jobs and trying to rebuild a temple.
Which temple?
ISKCON of New York City.
It's funny when I hear like ISKCON of New York. Like I think of like all of New York, but it's Brooklyn. ISKCON. Why isn't it called ISKCON Brooklyn?
Because Brooklyn is a part of New York City.
Right. Yeah. Obviously.
So the activities of the Brooklyn Temple are supposed to be felt and accessed by the entire city.
Right.
So whether it's devotees coming to the temple or pilgrims and guests or we going out, where the temple is right now, it's like, you couldn't ask for a better location. Like all the subways somehow get you to Brooklyn in about an hour from most parts of New York City.
That's an amazing central location.
Yeah. So even though it's physically in the borough of Brooklyn, I mean, that used to be a city about 100 years ago, but then when it all became New York City, so it's ISKCON of New York City.
Right. Awesome. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about how that's going. Like, what are the challenges you're facing now in the sense of it's been some time now that the hands have changed and management has changed, and now you're kind of getting and what I've seen there has been like a really vibrant team and very nice leader and things are happening.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely lots of goods. We have some young devotees who are fired up and definitely pushing the envelope in terms of creativity with their service and how to get devotees and guests into the building.
Right.
We had to get the restaurant open again, and that took a little while, but now it's functioning. And hopefully we'll improve it this year and make it a more vibrant presentation. Trying to get a new cafe going on the ground floor.
Wow.
So that we can, because we have all this street frontage, right? So we want to put a cafe up there now and hopefully in the summer months have the doors open and music blasting from inside out.
Wow.
Devotees selling vegan treats and, knowledge, and
it's so hard for me to think of it as a place where like lots of people walk and things like from what I remember as a kid going there, it was like kind of like the outside was like kind of scary.
Well, yeah, but the good news is, I mean,
It's really changed.
There's a huge difference. I mean, there's apartment buildings, each like 200, 300 units within walking distance, all brand new.
Amazing.
So, I mean, I remember one, what was, I think, Diwali. I mean, there was like all sorts of people, Indian American or Hindu, just literally, oh, we heard about this and we just live over there or we just live over there. And one lady who is our temple neighbor, she came in with her dog. It was hilarious.
She came in the temple with a dog.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was hilarious.
I mean, if lots of people have dogs, they're going to have to cater for that as well, right?
That's the thing. So we didn't have a policy of what to do with pets, but now we do. So
Wow. Awesome. So I was talking to someone the other day and they were saying how they felt like that ISKCON survived through the 80s and 90s because of the Sunday feast model.
I would say, and forgive me, ISKCON devotees, that I wouldn't call this surviving.
Okay, tell me why.
And I
well, define surviving. Maybe I should define surviving.
yeah, okay, you define it.
It's surviving in the sense. I don't know why this is peaking. This is weird.
You're just exuberant.
I know, but I'm turning myself down and I still am peaking. Anyway, it's fine. um, surviving in the sense. Give me a second here. I'm just gonna work something here. It's strong. It's weird. Okay. Surviving in the sense that the temples are continuing to stay open, the mortgages are being paid, and devotees are still sticking around.
Okay. In that respect, sure. But that's like saying, I have a unhealthy patient and they're in the hospital bed, stuck with wires and tubes coming out.
Sorry.
Now, again, for the critics, they're gonna point at me. Well, you were one of those Sunday feast model guys, and you thrived on that. I'm like, yeah, it's true. It's not that
We grew up on that.
we grew up on that. So that was the basis of our Krishna consciousness. When I was a kid, I looked forward to Sundays because I knew I would see my temple friends.
Right.
We could eat things and not worry about, what's in them and, the bake sale and pizza and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Play mridanga whenever we wanted, so for us, that was our lifeline. But now I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, well, couldn't the devotees have done more with little? And I say that because in other parts of the world, like in England and in Africa, South America, ISKCON thrived, making devotees and, weathering all the guru issues. So why in America or North America did things go in a different direction?
What direction?
Where the temples became the Sunday feast model.
Right. So many people would argue with you that it's not it's more than surviving.
Okay. But like I said,
No, I agree with you, but I'm just playing devil's advocate.
no, that's perfectly fine. So you can live comfortably in a hospital tied to tubes that are doing your breathing for you, doing your eating for you,
Yeah.
doing, your blood changes and all that. But and it comes to survival means you're able to stand in spite of all the difficulties and standing on your own 2 feet. And what's the 2 feet of the ISKCON movement? We have the outreach, which is our preaching and all that. Mm-hmm. And then we have our ability to make, more rank and file devotees to keep the thing going.
Like committed devotees.
Yeah. I mean, the ISKCON model only worked, at its best, like they say, the good old days, the 70s, when the financial model was that of a communal lifestyle.
Right.
So it required young energy, young persons, young devotees willing to give up 3, 4, 5 years of their life, like you did, for a higher purpose.
Right.
And then basically, as you're transitioning out, you're basically teaching the next batch coming in to take your place. That's the way the model was back then.
Yeah.
And now the model is, okay, if you're a president or a manager of a temple, now this is your livelihood. And that is where I think the challenge came. How does ISKCON as an organization stay true to its principles, but at the same time be able to, weather the changes of the environment, of society? I mean, back then in the 60s, everyone wanted to rebel against, the norm. So it was easy to join an ashram because everybody did it.
Right.
In the 70s and the 80s, things changed. Life got better. I mean, this is what we talked about a year ago, the same point.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a critical necessity for the devotees who were there back then to continue. That's one thing. And the other thing is, financial or personal needs. Marriage was still frowned upon. Not many people got married in ISKCON in those days. And if you were in the 70s, you were separated from your kids. Kids had to go to Gurukul. And in the 80s, now you have to figure out your own life and figure out what to do with yourself and how to survive. I mean, so in those respects, the ISKCON that they knew back then was not the ISKCON that we grew up with. And so in that respect, I would say, I don't think it survived.
So what's your observation now in the sense of like, what is it? What's in practical terms? What is it now that makes it not standing up on our own 2 feet?
It's this, same we have an opportunity. Technology is advanced. The ability to diversify our outreach models have advanced, but I don't think it has been embraced in ISKCON as a whole.
Technology hasn't been advanced,
Not just
embraced.
technology, outreach models. What they call bridge programs or whatever.
Right.
And the biggest challenge, and this I heard from when John Avi's podcast. I was listening to that this morning actually.
Oh, okay.
How to value the devotees who are coming, whether they're the congregation or the full timers, to get them to buy into what you're trying to do. I know it's a very challenging, thought.
Get them to buy into what you're doing, and what does that mean?
So buying in. So
No, I know what buying in, but buying
Into what?
Into what? Yeah.
so what is the mission of ISKCON? That's what I'm trying to get people to buy into.
Who's not buying into it?
If that was the case, then you would see devotees like the Jehovah's Witness out there every week distributing books, whether it's one day,
Oh, right.
right?
True,
Just
true.
touching the pavement, doing something.
Doesn't it have to do with your level of understanding, in the sense of
If you join the Jehovah's Witness, you're when you sign on the dotted line,
You gotta be out
You
there.
got to be out there.
oh, interesting.
So basically, there's no consequence for becoming a devotee now. There's no accountability. As long as you chant your rounds, do your four principles, that's it. That's all that's required now.
You're kind of just like left on your own. If you don't make that attempt to participate in
Yeah.
a
And the
temple
thing is,
or
and the thing is, it shouldn't be just up to the practitioner to figure out how to fit themselves in. Like in the old days, from what I've heard, the temple leaders, when they cultivated new persons, they plugged them in immediately.
right.
And now it's like, oh, you're here for the Sunday feast. Okay, make sure you leave by a certain time so we can close up and get back to our normal lives.
That's true. Oh, sorry. That's true. Good point. I'm gonna do the applause when you make a good point.
So that's what I'm saying. That's not surviving.
Yeah.
So
This is something that we talk about very often, what we call mission drift.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about like what you think that is, or and how ISKCON right now illustrates that.
Again, forgive me because I'm a card carrying ISKCON member, and I'll
Let's just put this out there. This podcast is like all about real life,
Yeah.
real talk.
Yeah.
Kalpavriksha said it. Three things: real talk, real people, something else. And I want whoever's speaking, and don't hold back anything. This is like fully a safe space. Like all that's going to come down on you is some comments. But I read something really cool today. Like
Yeah.
if you want to do something, if you're not ready to be criticized or have critics, then you're not ready to do something new and wonderful or something like that. That's what the quote was. It's on
Yeah.
Instagram. Check my Instagram.
I don't have that.
No, not you. I'm just telling our viewers. But yeah, mission drift.
So mission drift. What was I saying?
What is it, and how is ISKCON illustrating mission drift?
So when and again, a lot of what I'm speaking towards is because I had to do my homework.
Right.
I had to read a lot of Srila Prabhupada's letters. I had to read a lot of and hear a lot of the conversations he's had. You've had with the devotees and memory tapes and all that.
Yeah.
Trying to piece together ISKCON New York's history, because there's a lot of interesting things that happen here which haven't been documented. So a lot of what I'm talking about is from doing that research, plus my own experience. Like I grew up through the thick and thin of ISKCON of New York.
Right. That's
So
fantastic if you
so
can
we
share
saw-
that with us.
We saw everything.
Yeah.
So mission drift. So what is the mission of ISKCON? The mission of ISKCON has two purposes. I mean, there's 7 purposes officially, but if you distill them, it's 2 things. One is the self-improvement, chanting your rounds, your sadhana, developing a relationship with Krishna, working towards that, goal of prema, the latter.
Right.
Then the second part of it is the outward part, the part where we share what we've learned with everyone around us. Yare dekho tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he very clearly gave these two requirements. First, you become a devotee, and then you make others devotees, right? Janma sarthak kari kara para upakar.
Yeah.
So the sarthak part, that's the internal.
Right.
And then the upakar is the external. But now, what is our mission? You're going from this mela to that sangha to this festival.
Sorry. I'm making this not serious. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
So
Going from this mela, what's wrong with that?
what's wrong with that? Those are all internal things. Now, if you read Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela,
Right.
the kirtans at Sriva Sangam, those were the internal events.
Yes.
But what was your qualification to enter into that kirtan?
You had to be part of the outside kirtans.
You had to be part of the outreach.
Right.
Like when Srila Prabhupada instructed that the the brahmacharis could go to India for Mayapur, for the Mayapur festival.
Gurpurnima festival.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they were spending 10, 11 months out of the year on the streets, on the corners, distributing books. This was their 1 month to rejuvenate and go to the Holy Dham. You have association, amazing kirtans, prasadam, etc.
Yeah.
And then you get rejuvenated to go back and do your service. Now it's just, how much rejuvenation do you need before you do something?
Okay, well, a lot of people would argue with you and say, if you want to save someone else, you have to be saved yourself.
Okay.
You can't save someone from drowning if you're drowning yourself.
Okay, that's perfectly all right. But at the same time, you joined a mission that teaches you how to swim,
Right.
that teaches you how to, prevent yourself from drowning. And how do you hold yourself accountable to prevent yourself from drowning is try to help somebody else who is drowning.
Right.
And I'm not saying this because I'm, actively going out and doing books and all that. I mean, I live an hour away from the temple and a half an hour from, our other temple.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can get out there every day. So I'm just, in the background trying to help
Facilitate.
those who are doing this thing.
Sure.
Whether it's organizing like the fundraising event we did or, helping with the graphics or facilitating speakers, whatever it is, we're trying to help. And that's a big part of it too. So no one should think, oh, Cat is saying everyone should go by. I haven't seen him out. No, that's not the point. The point is you have to be plugged into what's going on. And then you have to help those who are making it happen.
It's a team effort.
Absolutely. And I appreciate, devotees like Vaisheshika Prabhu who really brought it down to the last common denominator, where everyone is a valued part of the outreach process.
Right.
So whether you're facilitating books, you're organizing books, you're making the prasadam, or you're making the the book bags and whatever, and getting the devotees out there, and then you're doing the accounting afterwards. It's a team effort, but the challenge is it requires a team.
Yes. So you're saying in essence that the mission drift is that there is not so much a focus on
Developing a team, creating that team.
Okay, a team.
That's where the mission is.
And growing it.
Right. So I'm not against, temples having few, inmates living in the temple. I'm not against that at all. I understand. The devotees of New Vrindavan used to sign their letters to Srila Prabhupada. The
inmates.
So that's not the point. Because temple is opening up everywhere. So at some point there will be communities living around the deity in the temple, and they'll be worshiping that. That's not the problem. That's not the challenge.
Yeah.
The challenge is, yare de kutare koho, like wherever you are, how do you turn that into a Krishna conscious moment? Like one of our good friends, he posts regularly on Facebook his interactions, and it's like inspiringly amazing.
Yeah.
He goes into the office and his boss says, come next time for Halloween wearing as a devotee. And he comes in, but not just with the clothes. He actually brought kartals and he brought books.
Right.
And prasadam, because that's what the devotees bring. That's their accessories,
Right. Yeah.
And he did pretty good that. I think like 10 books he sold. I mean, it's amazing. But the thing is, so that's where the drift is. Most devotees, like I was speaking to one of the managers of our temple locally here, and she was like complaining, yeah, we had to do this fundraising event and that fundraising, and it was like the same 5 people that went to organize both events the same day. Now, how is that fair? Now, how is that? And then the Sunday feast is packed with 200 people, of which only 5 or 6, chose to attend this outreach event. So when I join ISKCON, or when I become a part of ISKCON, when will it dawn upon me, or who will impress upon me that part of my obligation as a member of ISKCON is to be a part of the outreach effort?
That's a great thing to wonder. But at the same time, I myself, who grew up in ISKCON, I don't necessarily feel that, and I don't think that everyone should feel that. Do you
Why
think?
not? Why not?
Because it's about an overflow in one's heart of that. Okay, I am filled with this love for Krishna and bhakti, and if it's overflowing, then I can give it to someone else. But if it's not overflowing in my own heart, how can I give it to someone else?
Well, here's the thing. You've heard the jaundice example.
Oh yes,
Right?
nectar of instruction.
Yeah. So a person who has jaundice, for him, sugar tastes bitter.
Right.
But
Said
then-
Krishna nama charitari sit. Is that the verse?
Probably.
Chitapta vidya.
Yeah. And then what's the only cure? You have to take sugar.
Right.
The Vedic cure. Now it's in the hospitals and things. But that's the thing. You have to keep practicing, and the nectar will come. I mean, the few times that I've gone doing books, like one time I went, it was just me and one devotee, and it was like freezing cold outside, and we didn't even get one book sold.
Yeah.
But afterwards, that devotee consoled me and said, "Don't worry. Mahaprabhu saw us.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada saw us, because we were out there pushing the mission forward." And the thing is, Vaisheshika Prabhu makes it super easy. There's no expectation. Like, you don't have to come back with any Lakshmi points. Just go out there and do your
I love that.
do your 2 or 3 hours or whatever you can do.
Yeah.
Put a book in the doctor's office. Just somehow just get it out there.
I did 2 Christmas marathons and about 2 or 3 summer marathons, and it kind of scarred me, to be honest.
I don't blame you.
We were out there for the marathons. We were there for 5 or 6. No, not 12 hours, but on a long day it was 8 hours, but on a normal day it was 5 or 6 hours. And for a kid who grew up in ISKCON to go on book distribution for that long, it was oh my God, what am I doing? But it was blissful for sure.
Yeah.
But it was also traumatic.
Yeah, because there was pressure.
Oh, there was tons of pressure.
There was pressure. There was competition. There was pressure.
Competition, yeah.
Vaisheshika Prabhu's model, no competition, no pressure, just show up.
And they probably do really well, I assume.
They do quite well.
Yeah. See, I wish I was a part of that.
Well, you can be. I mean, we do a monthly Sankirtan festival in Brooklyn every month. I think
Good plug.
The 3rd Saturday of the month or something like that. So
Nice.
look out for that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy. I went on the first couple of ones. It was quite great.
So in this, so mission drift, is that the only thing?
I think that's the root cause. I mean, the root challenge, because now many of our ISKCON centers are looking to build big palaces.
Yeah,
and
I was gonna talk
install
about that as well.
so many altars of deities. But then what do? Because they can't commit to coming to the temple at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday, so they have to hire or import a pujari from India, or 2 or 3 or 5.
That's a whole nother topic in itself, but we should touch on that.
Yeah.
I have seen so many pujaris go through our temple. I can count maybe 30 or 40 in the many years that I've seen it. But so what's the alternative then? I mean, the alternative is to have the congregation do it.
Well, that's
All the seva.
Well, that requires a commitment, and that commitment only comes from that team building.
Right. Good point.
So that's the root cause. When the team is not there,
Yeah.
how do you expect the general to do anything when the soldiers aren't there to take part in all these things? And I've spoken to our temple president of our local temple, and he's frustrated because it's like pulling teeth just to get devotees to come and pick up the service. And he said right now, between the devotees who are living in the temple, the few of them, they're at their limit. So if any one of them gets sick or
Oh my gosh.
has an emergency, has to go back to India or whatever, you
So
have 3 altars of installed deities. Oh, 2 actually. Well, almost 3.
yeah.
So what do you do? And I know a few temples in India where it's come down to where they just don't worship the big deities at all and just worship the smalls.
Really?
Yeah, because of the same challenge.
Yeah, the one devotee who's a pujari told me like that it's vigraha, not galagraha.
Yeah.
Galagraha means like a burden or something on the neck or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. And then Prabhupada said something like, we shouldn't think, oh, our spiritual master left us with this burden,
Right. Right.
and that's what it is.
I mean,
Sorry to say.
many temples and devotees are feeling that. It's burdensome.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I remember one devotee in a temple, and he was brought from India for that purpose of taking care of the deity. And I was like, hey, Prabhu, let's, hang out one day. Because he was very nice to me and preaching to me. And he said, Prabhu, I'm sorry, I'm chained to the deity. I can't leave.
Wow,
So for a year or two, he barely left the temple walls. He was just,
that's not healthy.
I mean, I don't know if any of the brahmacharis joining in India or US ever expected that part of their service commitment would be to be chained to a deity in a temple in some random place in the world.
I know, right? Yet they're lining up to come.
I mean, that's God bless them.
Well, it's because, I mean, this is not all of them, but after a certain time period, then you can get a green card and you can come, make your life in another country,
Yeah, I mean, that's what some temples have embraced that strategy, and it's worked well for them.
Yeah.
Other temples, it hasn't done so well for them. So these are all just bandages on the same challenge, which is the inability to create a team.
Yeah.
So part of the mission drift is, are the leaders and managers focusing on that team building?
Yeah. Side topic regarding the deity worship. I always thought that it was so cool in some Indian temples that are not Hare Krishna temples or anything, but it's like they worship the deity and then they lock the doors of the temple and then they go to their house and then in the morning they come back and they open it and worship the deity again and then at night close it. So
Yes.
no one's living in the temple except
Yeah.
the deity.
Yeah.
And there's no overhead of trying to maintain devotees and all that stuff. Everyone's got where they live already.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great thing. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But is it part of the mission or not?
Yeah. It's
Like-
not. That's not how Prabhupada
No, I mean, like I know
modeled it.
I know some devotees are really harping on this point that Prabhupada didn't want anyone to get paid, and no one wanted he didn't want anyone to have salaries, and now many temples are one temple I know has $1 million a year in salaries that they have to pay.
No.
Yeah,
$1 million.
in salary. Yeah.
Wow.
So how did ISKCON come to that, where now we're trying to earn enough income to pay our members to do the service? Again, don't get me wrong. I definitely agree. It's definitely, worth our while to compensate devotees for their,
Yeah.
especially if they have grihasthas, because the whole varnashram thing, you have to get married at some point,
Yeah.
or you have to have, some future and secure. I totally am for that. But again, it's question of that balance or that drift that we're seeing. How much of our resources are going to, pay salary and pay overhead versus how much is going towards outreach and creating, new resources for future generations of outreach. So then now in that scheme of things, is it worth it to use whatever meager resources I have to build a giant temple or build a facility, rather than can I use that in a different way where I can create a more stable situation and then use the leftover resources for this outreach to be able to create more generations? I mean, the thing is, the last thing you want to see is, giant temples with nobody in there.
Okay, listen. The bottom line of team building is that you have to have a leader.
Yeah.
You have to have an empowered leader. Yes, for sure you do. You have to have a spiritually potent and powerful servant leader who will push everyone from the back, the way Vaisheshika Prabhu is doing it in ISV, and the way all these other really successful temples, they have a really successful leader.
I would say not exactly, because in some temples, especially in Europe, because there the guru falls happened a lot. The charismatic leader in the front was falling, and there were a few devotees who survived that, and they were the ones who actually had the strength to carry the society forward. But they were not, quote unquote, charismatic or empowered or anything in the surface, at the surface. But now we know, decades later, that they were very empowered. It just requires sincerity, perseverance, some humility, and faith.
Yeah. But you see how Srila Prabhupada created this movement due to his purity and his spiritual potency.
He did it because his guru told him to. And the success of his mission was he was able to fulfill his guru's order.
But it had a lot to do with him.
It had to do a lot with him. We know that now. But when he did it, his only qualification, in his words, was that he was trying to fulfill the order of his spiritual master.
Yeah, but we know
we
that
can't,
it was...
we don't know. The thing is, if we're waiting for the great Messiah to come in and pull ISKCON out of its situation, fat chance you're not going to get it.
I'm not saying that we should wait for that, but I'm saying that we should have the correct people in leadership who are trained, who have that spiritual background, who have that charisma. We shouldn't be paranoid of a charismatic leader.
I'm not saying we should be paranoid.
No,
either.
because it comes back to the guru. It actually makes me angry. It comes back to the guru thing also. Okay, if you're a very charismatic guru and you have a lot of disciples and you have a lot of followers, people just want to shoot you down in ISKCON because they think you're trying to compete with Srila Prabhupada or something like that. I've seen that.
Yeah, and that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make no sense.
Anyway, that's a tangent, but.
We'll just go to WhatsApp for that part.
No, I keep doing the wrong one. What were you talking about now? Mission drift. So then what's the solution?
I think
besides the team, like expand on that a little bit.
I think the biggest solution is, when the leaders of ISKCON meet in Mayapur and meet in other place, they should be looking at every opportunity and every way to enrich the lives of the devotees that are all out throughout ISKCON currently, and then help them brainstorm ways to get all of these wonderful persons who became initiated, were chanting 16 rounds, 4 regular principles, get them involved, get them vested into what's going on, get them vested into the mission.
I don't think you can it's not a formula. It's not a formula that if you follow XYZ plus Z, but plus 1, 2, 3, and you're going to get, amazing team building.
One of the other parallel, Hindu organizations that we all look to and we're like, wow, how did they do that?
Yeah, Swaminarayan. Well, none of them are going to listen to this.
That's okay.
And we're not saying anything bad. We're actually praising.
Yeah, so, their history... They focused, this marble temple thing only started in the late 90s. Yeah.
What was before that?
Before that, they were meeting in community halls and garages and warehouses.
Right.
And they were building teams.
Right.
I recently, saw snippets of a presentation they did in London.
For people who don't know, the Swaminarayan group, you can look them up, Google them. They're a very... united and very
service-oriented organization.
Yeah, like my cousin is a part of that. He wasn't a part of that growing up, but he became a part of it after he got married, and he goes off some weeks per year on a service trip. Like the way people go to Peace Corps. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he goes and he just donates his time and he donates his money, and it's amazing.
Yeah. So I was watching one of their presentations they had done. It's on YouTube, and they focused heavily on creating, a united, family life, united community, like in their temple or in their sangha,
Yeah.
and 90% of their activities are this team building.
Wow.
And team building, and of course, they do a lot of social things. So it's tree planting and charity walks and blood drives and all that. But that's part of it. They do basketball tournaments and all sorts of things. But they're always reinforcing this concept of we're a team, we're all united, we're part of the same family. And the leaders of that institution, the sannyasis, the gurus, the guru, I mean, that's their main focus. It's more important to them than building the marble temples. Like the last thing, like suppose they wanted to build a temple in whatever town in India or whatever. They have from what I understand, they have like milestones. You have to achieve this much.
Really?
Yeah, and it's not just how many people come to your Sunday event or whatever. Yeah. It's how many volunteers you have regularly, how many people took the courses, and they have like a lifetime full of courses you have to take.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So much education. There's so much team building. There's so much, and then they reinforce that throughout the year with camps and youth conventions. I mean, they go all out, and that's their biggest focus.
Wow.
And then the last thing they do is, does this area need a marble temple?
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, there's not so many of them in America.
No, they
It's like a
actually
handful
hit their limit. I mean, they were planning only 6 or 7, and they hit that. So that's it.
in the U.S.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are just like
Preaching
warehouses.
centers,
And
warehouses, schools, business, church, old churches.
we could totally
office
learn from
buildings.
that.
Yeah.
We could totally learn
But
from
the
that.
thing is, and the thing is, ISKCON is not, we have the same tools that they do. We have all the same, because Prabhupada really emphasized, in the Bhagavatam purports, in his letters, conversations, that, we have to work as a united effort.
Right. The thing that they have that we don't is that they're all the same race.
So that means that we have to do better.
Unity is hard.
There's a video by His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami, given at the opening of this Durban, South Africa temple.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's an amazing video.
Oh, I love that.
I listened to that. It's only a 1 minute. I wish there was someone could,
I could play it right now. Watch. This roadcaster thing is fantastic. Watch how I play. It's the one where he's speaking at he's like very animatedly giving a speech, right?
Yeah, he's talking about the holy names of the Lord, and in there's like a brief talk where he speaks about, he took someone to visit the Nairobi ISKCON temple, and there was, the United Nations there, like Italians, Americans, Africans, Indians, and he was, extolling how we were doing the real work of the United Nations, because we were all together chanting God's names, doing God's work. Do we have time for all this?
Yeah, we do. That's weird. Why isn't it playing?
Is your Wi-Fi stretched out?
Maybe. Hey, don't touch that. Man, always problems with technology, man.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
But you just put the link on to that little clip.
It's this one for people who are... That's the one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I mean, he was interested in team building. Like, he had his 4 principles of community. Like, strong, very strong principles.
Oh, yeah, I love those.
So...
Hard to follow.
Very hard, because it requires practice, and it requires nourishment. It requires all the things that are hard to do. So rather than doing that, it became easier for temples to, import pujaris and then focus on what I can do or what they can do to bring people in the door, put the money in the box, take some prasadam, leave.
Yeah.
It's a big challenge, and we see that a lot, in our temple in New York. And it's issues of manpower is there, issues of how to engage devotees correctly, but the easy way out is to keep importing and keep moving people around. The hard way is to actually, melt people's hearts, change their consciousness, help them thrive and evolve,
Build proper relationships.
build relationships. Yeah. And that, of course, unfortunately takes time.
Invest in relationships and don't invest so much in buildings.
Yeah.
That's hard.
It's very hard. I mean, what we're doing in Mayapur, that was Prabhupada's desire, so it's happening, but it doesn't need to happen with that level of frequency elsewhere. I mean, I would request the leaders of ISKCON to take a pause in that.
Yeah.
Let's not be so encouraging. It's for devotees to find land and throw up a temple and then worry about how it's going to be taken care of.
That worries me like anything. That's worrying to me.
Like, I know one temple that opened up recently, and the whole community basically said, if our president is no longer here, we're going to stop coming.
Really? So then what happened?
He had to stay. He wanted to preach somewhere else in ISKCON. He did his duty. He got the temple up, the mortgage paid. There's a thriving community.
Yeah.
But they told the leaders of ISKCON that if this guy goes, we're not coming either.
Oh my gosh.
What did you join ISKCON for? I mean, then what was the point of opening a temple there?
But isn't that but it wasn't like you're making the person leave, or
No.
he actually wanted to go somewhere else.
He wanted to go somewhere else where he could be more useful, because he did the hard work. He planted the seeds. He tilled the soil. The fruits were coming. The flowers were coming. As the devotees were coming up, they're all initiated.
So isn't that good, because they loved him as a person, as a devotee so much, almost like a guru, that they didn't feel like they wanted to go to the temple because he wasn't going to be there.
But unfortunately, as Krishna told Arjuna, we all got to go at one point.
Right.
So
I don't know. I think that if we follow the basic model of the temple that Srila Prabhupada wanted, that probably most people don't know what that model is, because it's probably not written anywhere. It might be in some document somewhere about how the temple should run, or do we have to like go to the Shiksha, what is it called? The Shikshamrita, where all the letters are, and you look at the
Veda base, bro.
Yeah, there before the Veda base.
Vanipedia.
Vanipedia is good. Look up all the letters, where Prabhupada said something about the temple and the temple president and the devotees who live in the temple.
Yeah, I mean, Prabhupada he was very smart in the way he started ISKCON. He followed the same model his guru did, and his guru followed the model of the Ramakrishna mission.
What the Gaudiya Math did.
Yeah,
Really?
It was Ramakrishna Math, which was the Mayavads, and the Gaudiya Math were the Vaishnavas. So that brotherhood was created back then. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta told Srila Prabhupada that I wish I could go back to those days. Remember that last walk where he said, Agun Jalve, there will be a fire in the mud. It was
Radha
yeah.
they're walking.
Yeah, so he was actually lamenting that those days in the old Ultadanga, Junction Road, ashram, that's all it was. It was an ashram.
Right.
The deities were there, but it was basically a simple ashram where the devotees ate communally, lived in harmony, and just did the work of the mission. And then once the big, the palace came, the big temple came, and all the notoriety and the offices and the organization, the marble, that's when things got, a little bit, painful. Oh man.
Yeah.
So
you can finish that thought, and I'll jump in.
Yeah. So if we go back, and the thing is, we can't go back to a communal lifestyle because that's just not practical. That only doesn't work. I mean, Mahatma Gandhi tried to do the communal lifestyle at Tolstoy farm. Prabhupada's Caitanyanagari prophecy was based on the Tolstoy farm, that communal lifestyle, but instead of Gandhiism, it was Bhagavad Gita. What's
the Tolstoy farm?
So in South Africa, when Mahatma Gandhi was a barrister over there,
Right.
he was influenced by the teachings of Leo Tolstoy.
Oh, interesting. I
And
didn't know that.
his the philosophy of Leo Tolstoy is communism.
Right.
So he created a farm down there where it was a communal living, and people, worked for a goal, and that goal wasn't exactly Krishna consciousness; it was something else.
Yeah.
And then when he came back to India to start the freedom movement, he created another farm, in Gujarat, a Satyagraha farm, where he tried to live out the principles that he was learning from, which basically all came from Jainism. He wasn't even much of a Hindu; he was more of a Jain.
Wow.
So if you read Prabhupada's Gita Nagari prophecy, a lot of the pieces of that came from what Gandhi did in his experiments.
Interesting.
Prabhupada was a Gandhian, so he knew all about Mahatma Gandhi.
Right.
So that was all a communal lifestyle. And then even this conception of Varnashram Dharma that Prabhupada wanted to push, that was basically, a variation of that communal lifestyle, where devotees live off the earth, you take care of the deity nicely, and simple living, high thinking, you're literally off the grid,
Yeah.
and peaceful. That was where he was, he wanted to take the movement towards that. So from that, communal to now where it's just, empty buildings full of, a few hired devotees on weekdays, and then a Sunday feast, brimming with, 200, 300 devotees, and then going back to, weekdays of solitude. How do you say that's not mission drift?
I think that the movement has to, it has to like accommodate the changes that are happening in the world.
Absolutely. But again,
So-
our principles need to be, there. So the Swami Narayans, they adapted, they incorporated any change in society became somehow, enveloped into their strategy for how to retain their team, their volunteers, their satsangis, as they call themselves. And they emphasize it over and over again. If you want to progress in spiritual life, you have to get association. You have to attend these things. You have to do your homework and study, and you have to become well-versed in the philosophy, things that we just don't emphasize anymore.
Yeah.
Now we emphasize, come and spend X amount of dollars and go to this kirtan, and, you'll get to sit right next to so-and-so Prabhu as he sings his fifth alap of the ninth, That's what it's come down to now,
Yeah.
And it's really disheartening.
It is.
So, and then, and many of the people that I'm just now, scorching, they're all dear friends of mine.
Yeah.
And God bless them for having that taste of the holy name. I wish I had that kind of taste.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I like it.
You like that?
That was a good one. But at the same time, how much of that is external? Like, for instance, at the Rath Yatra last year in New York, we purposely chose, and I purposely pushed that we have to have some external events, not just the Rath Yatra and the Sunday program.
You like this one?
Have you heard of Krishna consciousness?
This part is a crazy man.
Did you see that episode?
Yeah, of course. But
I agree with you. I agree with you to a point, but I still can't get over the fact that it's something that has to do with the heart, and it can't be forced.
doesn't have to be forced, but you have to put in the effort. Right? No one's expecting you when you take initiation that you're going to have, the taste for the holy names. But if you don't do your rounds every day, how are you going to develop that taste?
Yeah.
You got to put in the effort.
Yeah.
So like the Jehovah's Witnesses, they make their members go out, morning, noon, and night, whatever. You have to commit, and you have to report to your pastor or whoever is in charge. I did this many hours this week.
Do they grow?
The Jehovah's Witness, they're
Yeah.
everywhere.
Like, do they I want to know statistics of like how people join and how
You have
many
to look
people
them
join.
up, but they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I was walking down on Wall Street to a client site, and It was people working in Wall Street. They had their stockbrokers tags, and they were out on the street right outside at a little portable kiosk, standing with their magazines
Like during their break or something.
during their break.
Wow. No one would do that in ISKCON.
No, I remember one time there was. I mean, you can. I mean, if you go to the like Kirtana Union Square, I did that a couple of times when I used to work near there. You go for an hour
Yes.
or half an hour, whatever it is. You just did your requirement for the week or whatever.
Is it about checking it off though?
You have to quantify it somehow. You have to. Why
I don't think you do. I don't think you do.
I mean, it's the same as chanting your rounds. You have to quantify it.
Right. Good point.
Right? Mahaprabhu, he didn't carry beads, but with his fingers, one finger he was chanting, the actual mantras. And the other hand he was counting how many he did that day.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have manifested, beads and whatever, but he just chose to do it the simplest way. But he had his own prescribed number of rounds that he did.
This is a good discussion, but where does I know you're a leader there in New York and everything,
I'm not a leader.
but I'm a nobody. How can we oh, that's what I wanted to say was, Manoram Prabhu wrote on Facebook,
God
if you
bless
had
him.
God bless him, yes.
God bless him.
Round of applause for Manoram Prabhu.
He's doing the work.
No, I know, but
With the bus tours he does, he's sacrificing a lot to
Yes.
get those things out every
yeah,
year.
they go to Mexico and they do a whole stage program and
The whole
books and
thing.
kirtan. Wonderful.
I mean,
But
he's doing enough for a lifetime just now.
I know. He made a post on Facebook saying if you had 10 minutes with the ISKCON leadership, what would you say to them? There was 2 or 3 comments.
Yeah.
Because I actually sat there for a minute to try to think, and I was like, I don't know what I would say.
I mean, this is what I would say. Focus on the devotees.
They would say how do you even quantify like that? What would you do? Just follow Prabhupada's instructions. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, but the thing is, Prabhupada's instructions are there, but until someone comes and helps guide you to that point physically, I mean, we're not Ritviks over here, okay? We have to have some sort of connection.
Keep pressing the wrong one. Yeah, we're not Ritviks.
You got to put labels on
Thank
those
the
things.
Lord. I know, I do.
Ritviks, they're basically, hung Prabhupada to dry. They just basically said, yeah, he's there. It's his instructions, and you depend on him to figure this thing out.
I kind of agree that in the sense of he's the founder Acharya.
No doubt. He is our founder Acharya. It's his instructions. But there has to be, interaction. There has to be human contact. There has to be some way for a person, the best devotees who made me serious about Krishna consciousness are my closest friends now. And whatever they need from me, even now, even though I'm so busy, if they need some of my time, I will try to give them my time.
Right.
Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing anything in Krishna consciousness. So most of the devotees in ISKCON, they have someone that they can say, oh yeah, that person. For him, I would do it. For her, I would do it.
Like a Shiksha Guru.
They can be called that, sure. But many of them, they don't need any appellation like that. They just did what they had to do to make that person a devotee.
Yeah. So how does that relate with what we're talking about again?
That's the thing. Come back to the point of, getting devotees, the leadership focusing on creating the means by which the congregations, the lay devotees, the you and the me, we can get inspired and self-empowered to help push forward the mission.
Yeah.
Otherwise we'll end up like the Catholic Church.
What happened to them?
They have so many churches and so many parishes all over this world. And I've seen a couple. I mean, I went to one soon after I got second initiated. I think it was a week later, and I was at a construction site all day.
Yeah.
Where was I going to do my noon Gayatri?
Yeah. I've done it in churches before. It's great.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I went to a church, and the door was wide open. Nobody there.
Yeah.
Not even the pastor. Nobody was there.
Well, that's the situation at some of our temples.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to a couple of temples where you walk in and it's just you and the deity.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the safest thing,
For the I mean, that's why they have to have
gates and
gates.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, why should it come to that?
The large temple model is not going to work anymore. That's what I think.
Maybe. Or like the Mormons have few of them.
A few
or
of
the
them.
Baps.
Yeah.
Few of them. Not as many.
I think the small groups meeting on a Friday, whether you want to call it Bhakti Vriksha or Namahata or something, that's the way forward.
That's the way forward, but it works best when it's connected to a larger entity.
Why?
So that you're part of something.
Right. You're not just. Well, what's wrong with just being part of that?
Because because you have to go to the temple at some point. That's part of Rupa Goswami's 64 items of devotional service.
Right.
You have to visit a holy place. You have to physically leave your comfort zone to do something to experience Krishna.
Mm.
So temples are required, but I don't think as many as we think. Or the temple name or definition should be broader, where a preaching center with pictures can be still called a temple,
Yes.
and given the same importance as the temples with the 3 altars with 100 deities.
Yeah.
And not one should be valued more than the other.
These are very radical ideas.
Yeah. It's like 10:30 at night.
No, it's not. It's only. Oh my God! It is almost 10:30.
See?
It's almost been an hour.
Yeah.
We should have a few more points before we end
Okay.
here.
This is late night with Namaras.
This is the late night show, guys. I have service tomorrow morning.
But you live 10 minutes away, so you're good.
That's true. I'm good.
Like, it shouldn't be this hard for temples to survive. If we have so many congregation
Great point.
members and so many
Yeah.
initiated devotees, it shouldn't be this hard.
It's a question of that we go back to, creating a team.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Instead of calling it a team, a family.
Better word.
A family. We
Better
need to
word.
create family atmospheres around ISKCON temples so people feel welcome, they feel cared for, they feel
At home.
at home, they feel like they have a service that's theirs, they feel some mamata for it. That needs to be
got it.
created. That needs to be created.
You got it. You hit the nail on the head.
Because I got friends like you.
It's kind of Pinebrook.
How many devotees live in the temple? 3. One's under 2 years old. The temple president is also the head garbage remover.
Yeah, and the accountants
Yeah, right.
and the head pujari.
Yes. Well, anyways, I appreciate this. This is a good conversation for sure.
Yeah.
Amazing conversation. We can even do like part 3 and 4 because there's so much things to unpack in all this.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to give our listeners like a takeaway from or a review from this podcast, what would you say?
I would say is everything that we do in Krishna consciousness is wonderful. Nothing should be minimized or made better than the other, but we should value what everyone is offering in their service to Krishna. And it's not just the devotees who are on the front stage or on the altar. It's the devotees behind them too that are making these wonderful activities happen. That's one point. Second point is Krishna consciousness is more than just what we do inside the 4 walls of whatever temple or venue we're in. I would request any of the devotees who are listening and may want to take some thought is whatever time I'm spending indoors in my own bhajan and my own sadhana, can I spend some of that time outdoors? Because that's also part of your sadhana.
Very good. Very good point.
Like our sadhana should not be, like to be a sadhu, you have to have a sadhana. That's Radha Govind Maharaj's definition. So the sadhana for devotees of ISKCON or the Gaudiya, Sampradaya is we have to do inward work and outward work. That's when you can be called a sadhu.
That's a good point.
So that's what I request to all of the listeners is just think about how we can, and if you can't physically do it yourself, then support someone who is.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to support it.
Bhagavad Gita in the 12th chapter, that's what Krishna says.
Bhagavad Gita. Oh my God, we have to talk about book changes.
No.
Oh my gosh, that's our next one. You have to come over next week.
Oh my God.
We have to talk about it. Honestly, it's such a good topic.
I mean, I actually appreciate most of the changes that happened.
What?
I do.
I'm so against book changes. That interview, did I tell you about that interview?
Yeah.
That changed me 180 degrees, man. I just went fully in the other direction. Funny story. My dad, we were cleaning out. He moved, right?
Yeah.
So we cleaned out his garage.
Yeah.
He had like a ton of the purple Bhagavad Gita. I was like, Papa, what are you doing with all these? Where's your 72 Gitas? He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, and I gave him like 15 minutes of the book changes.
Oh my God.
Woo!
He's such a sadhu, man. Don't
I know.
corrupt him, He's a sadhu. Your dad is a sadhu.
I'm gonna have him come on the
You
show.
need to have him come on the show.
Yeah.
He can talk about his father. That I still look at that picture. It's like brilliant. And
Pretty cool.
And your grandpa looks so happy there.
He looks so much like my dad.
He looks like your son.
Really? Well, my son looks like my dad as well.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I don't know where you fell off that tree.
I don't know. I don't look like anybody. Anyways, Caitanyananda, thank you. This is episode 22. And we look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Haribol.
Haribol, take care.